Hello everyone, it's me Uncle John. Today I am going to read S66054 Expedition Down Under, Chapter 3. When we reached the shoreline in Tasmania, the jeep kept going right into the water. In another instant, we were afloat in the Magic School boat. Dickie didn't look one bit surprised. She was trailing a hand over the side of the boat as if buses turned into boats every day, a happy smile on her face. I could see why Tiki and the Fridge were friends. Drop anchor. Tiki suddenly called, and then she dove over the side with all her clothes on. We crowded to the side to see what she was doing. She stayed on the water a really long time, so long that I started to worry. Just as Arnold began to say, Miss Frizzle, do you think Tiki's had popped out of the water? And next to her head was the strangest looking creature I'd ever seen. It had a furry head, beautiful dark eyes, and a large duckbill. Mind throwing us a rope, mate? Sputtered Tiki. Carlos spotted the rope next to him and threw it over the side. In a flash, Tiki was up, carrying the shaking creature. It was even stranger looking out of the water. It had webbed feet, fur, flippers, and a flat tail. It looked like many different animals all in one. There's a story that when one of the first settlers was given one of those fellas to look at, he thought it had been sewed together as a joke. He actually looked for stitches. Tiki laughed. But it's real. It swims, lays eggs, and is as much a mammal as you or I. Ladies and gents, the platypus, Tiki's face was glowing with pride. You're lucky to see one. Normally they are very shy. Wow, I said. She's beautiful. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a platypus. Actually, said Tiki, this one is a male. See his little horns on the back legs? She pointed to some bumps on the legs. These are full of poison. We all looked at one another nervously. I hoped the platypus wasn't going to hurt Tiki, but Tiki gave the creature a hug. And the platypus is only found in the land down under, one of our two egg-laying mammals. What's the other one? According to my research, that would be the echidna, I said proudly. That's right, DA. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll find one on the mainland. But meanwhile, I want to put our friend back in the water so he can get on with his business. She slowly lowered the platypus into the water, and we watched him swim off. Carry on, mates, she called, and we continued to chug along. Wow, that really was interesting, said Arnold. He took a picture of the swimming platypus. It's another down under wonder, said Carlos. Before the platypus had disappeared from our view, the boat was hitting ground and Tiki was leaping over the side again. Look here, she called out as she stood up in the shallow water. She was holding something in her hand. She climbed on deck, opened her hand, and showed us a small frog. We have frogs too, said Ruffy, but this here is not just any frog, said Tiki. This is a gastric breeding frog. She actually hatches tadpoles in her stomach. She stops eating and stops producing stomach juices for about 8 weeks until the tadpoles hatch, and they hop out of her mouth. Tiki held the frog out to Carlos, who was snapping pictures. Then she lowered the frog back into the water. Just another of the wonders of Oz, said the Fridge. And there she lies, she announced with a grand gesture. We looked over the side of the boat and saw the rocky coast of mainland Australia. What a wonderful trip. Chapter 4. Before Tiki was dry, the boat had turned back into the Magic School jeep. We are on the mainland now, mate, said Tiki. We are not going to have time to stop much because we are headed for a special place to meet some animal. But I want you all to take a Captain Cook as we drive across the south of the continent. Take pictures of any interesting animals you see. Miss Frizzle turned down a small road that led through a forest. It smelled heavenly. These are eucalyptus trees, Tiki told us. She took a deep sniff. Ah, the cough drop tree. The leaves of the eucalyptus tree contain an oil that'll clear your sinuses and help drain your nose. That's why eucalyptus oil is used in many medicines, including cough drops. Native to Australia, eucalyptus trees grow well in any dry climate and have been planted all over the world. Eucalyptus trees are also known as gum trees in a certain familiar song. Said the Freeze with a smile. Great, we must be close to the kookaburra, said Arnold. He looked up and let out a startled yelp. What's that? He asked Tiki. Take out your camera, said Tiki. We looked up at where Arnold was pointing. I couldn't believe my eyes. It looked something like a little squirrel, but it was flying. Could this be a kookaburra? I snapped a couple of pictures. Who was that masked animal? Asked Phoebe. That was a sugar glider, said Tiki. I felt a little disappointed that we hadn't found the mysterious kookaburra yet, but the sugar glider was really cool. How does he fly like that? Keisha asked. Actually, he is gliding. There are flaps of skin between his arms and his body, kind of like a cape, that catch the air and allow him to glide like a kite. He can glide up to 100 yards, which is almost as good as flying. Why is he called a sugar glider? Asked Phoebe. Is it sweet? It's not sweet. He'll give you a nasty bite if you try and grab him, but he likes to eat sweet things like honey and tree gum. So the Aborigines named him sugar glider. Sugar glider is also marsupial. I noticed that the trees we were passing now were really huge. Wow. I said, look at the size of those trees. These are called carry trees. People used to cut them down for their wood. It's an especially hard and durable wood, but now they are protected. Tiki said, I think these are the biggest trees I've ever seen, said Carlos. They can grow as tall as a California redwoods. The Freeze added, we have to be extra careful with our forests here in Australia. They make up only 5% of the whole continent, and a lot of animals depend on them for homes. I was hoping the kookaburra was one of those animals. I was keeping a sharp lookout and keeping an ear out for that crazy laughing sound too. We are speeding along at a good clip when Keisha yelled, oh look, it's a baby koala riding piggyback. Miss Frizzle slowed down so we could get a good look. Tiki laughed. The famous koala, like almost all of our animals, the marsupials, the koala is a cousin of the wombat. She is awfully cuddly looking, with all that beautiful fur. Can we stop and pet one? Arnold asked shyly. I'm afraid not. Koalas are pretty solitary creatures. They spend most of their time up in the trees. They live completely on a diet of leaves. And although they look sweet, they really aren't very friendly to humans. As Tiki was talking, Miss Frizzle parked the magic school jeep. We clambered out, cameras in hand. This looks like a great spot. Time to hit the ground. Buy some more animal. Tiki said, will we see a kookaburra? Ralphie asked excitedly. Well, you never know where that kookaburra will turn up. Just then, we heard that laugh again. It's a kookaburra, said Keisha. It sounds like one all right, said Tiki. Let's go find him. I think we're in the right place, whispered Wanda. Chapter 5. We started trekking through the bush, trying to keep up with Tiki. She didn't seem to notice all the roots, rocks, and prickles. We reached the clearing, and Tiki turned to face us. We were glad she stopped because we were all out of breath. The biggest problem facing our wildlife next to human beings is the feral. The ferals, you ankle biters know what a feral is? She looked around at our faces. Nobody said anything. Ankle biter, young child. Feral, the animals that were brought here by European settlers. They are creatures that aren't native, and in my opinion, they just don't belong in Australia. They're animals that are common where you live, like rabbits, foxes, goats, pigs, cats, and dogs. Once people brought them here and they escaped into the wild, they caused a terrible problem for native species. They eat the food that the native wildlife eats. Some of them hunt and eat our native wildlife. So several Australian Jews have worked to breed our native animals and put them back into the wilderness where they can keep the feral animals out. This is one of those areas. I looked around. It didn't look any different from other places we'd driven by. Get your cameras out, said Tiki. We're going to see some interesting creatures. She moved to a hollow log and picked up one end, gently shaking it until a sleepy long nose, the furry animal with the bush tail, slid out. I wondered how she had known which log to shake. This is a numbat. He eats some ants, but mostly termites. You're very lucky to see him because there aren't that many numbats left. Our cameras clicked. Tiki gently slid the sleepy numbat back into its log. Go ahead and have a look around. She said it's perfectly safe here. I thought Tiki had some strange ideas of what was safe, but it was great to run around and look for things. I was really hoping to be the one to spot the kookaburra, whatever it might be. We all peered into hollow logs and peeked behind rocks until suddenly I heard a Wanda scream. Everybody rushed over to where she was standing, next to a rock. Tiki was scooping something up from behind the rock. I bet you never saw the likes of this before. She set the animal down in front of us. It looked like a porcupine. It took one look at us and curled up into a big spiky ball. I couldn't believe Tiki had held such a prickly creature without hurting herself. She definitely seemed to have a special way with animals. An echidna, Phoebe said proudly, looking in my Australia field guide. Rich Digi, said Tiki. Rich Digi, said Tiki. It meant the honest truth. Tiki looked at the curled up ball of spikes. Ah, said Tiki, I'm not going to hurt you. She sounded amused. He just does that to protect himself. You got lots of echidna in Australia because they can survive all over the place. Watch this. She took a stick. The end.